Good morning, honorable members, and a welcome to yourselves to this meeting. We also have representatives from the Department of Justice. I should just inform honorable members that we have received an apology from the Deputy Minister, who is not able to be with us today. And in terms of members of the committee, we have received an apology from Honorable Nita and possibly from Honorable okay. Now we've received an apology from Honorable Nita and Honorable Mtetwa. But Honorable Mtetwa did indicate that if he's able to join us, he will. But having said that, honorable members, today we will be receiving a briefing from the department in response to the two gender-based violence bills, being the Criminal and Related Matters Amendment Bill, as well as the Domestic Violence Amendment Bill. Last week, Friday, honorable members, we received a briefing by the department in terms of their responses to the criminal law or the Sexual Offences and Related Matters Amendment Bill. But just to recap, honorable members, before we go into the briefings, that we put out adverts for comments on these bills from the 11th to the 11th of June to the 16th of July. And we received a total of 87 submissions on all three bills. And included in the 87 submissions were 41 individual submissions via the Geo South Africa website. But in respect of the bills under consideration today in today's meeting, we received 9 written submissions from organizations and individuals on the Criminal and Related Matters Amendment Bill. And we received 19 written submissions on the Domestic Violence Amendment Bill. Members, although a bit late, you would have received the documentation in relation to today's briefing. But I'm going to hand over to Ms. Pillay, whom I understand is leading the delegation from the department, who will be taking us through the documentation. Ms. Pillay, given that we did receive the documentation a bit late, I think you should also kind of take your time to take us through the documentation. But be that as it said, honorable members, we will then have an opportunity to deliberate. Members will also be given additional opportunities to deliberate if they feel they need that time. But let me then hand over to Ms. Pillay to take us through. Ms. Pillay.
Thank you, and good morning, Honorable Chairperson and members. Today I'm joined by Mr. du Preez and Ms. Deline Clark and Mr. Makulubete. The order of our presentations, Chairperson, will be that I think we will start with the criminal matters. It's a much shorter presentation and not many objections were received. It's just points of clarity, etc., that Mr. du Preez will take us through. However, that will be a shorter presentation. The domestic violence is a much longer presentation. There were some, not necessarily objections, but generally in support of the bill, but several technical amendments that were proposed and which we will take the committee through. Although the document is 78 pages long, in doing the presentation, we will highlight the key issues. We will not leave out any issues, but we will talk, not necessarily reading from the document, but we will talk to the critical issues as we go page by page. And I will deal more with that presentation once Mr. du Preez is done with the criminal matters. Chairperson, with that in mind, I think if you require, unless you require anything further from us, if we can please start with Mr. du Preez's presentation, please.
Please continue, Ms. Pillay. We in your hands.
Mr. du Preez, can you flight the documents for criminal matters, and let's start with that presentation and deal with that. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I would just like to indicate to the committee that I've been called from the reserve bench to assist with this bill. I didn't realize that we have a reserve bench but we do. So you're welcome to refer to me as number 17 for the remainder of the day. With that being said, Madam Chair, we have prepared a summary. It's 11 pages long with regard to the criminal matters and related matters amendment bill. Now, in table 1, Madam Chair, we once again reflect the general comments that were received in respect of the bill. There were a few persons who do not support the bill. I might add, Madam Chair, that these names and surnames would appear to be familiar to the committee already, because the majority of these persons who made one-line submissions did so in respect of all 3 our GBV bills. There's also, we also give an indication, and I'm not going to bore you with the detail, I think it's quite straightforward, but we also gave an indication of persons who do not fully support the bill. There were 4 of them. Persons who support the proposed amendments are in the majority. And we have also given you an example on page 2 then of some of the general comments that were provided by these persons who support the bill. And we would like to highlight possibly one at this stage, and that is the one by Mr. Murakure, who expresses the view that the term intermediary is a broad term, and there should be a proper explanation of the roles and functions of intermediaries. Our response, Madam Chair, is simply to indicate that in clauses 1, 8, and 18 of the bill, the requirements for the appointment as an intermediary are reflected in the proposed amendments. Then, if I may go on, Madam Chair,